All right, so hello everyone. Welcome to another interview with us. I am Anton Zaki of the American Coptic Council, sitting here with excuse me, Amoy Barnes, who is running for City Council in New York City. How are you today?
I'm well, thank you. How are you, Anton?
Good, good. Thank you. Thank you for asking. First and foremost, thank you for joining us. I just wanted to give a little disclosure. At the American Coptic Council, we do not endorse a particular candidate, rather that we inform the viewers on where the candidate stands and their platform. With that being said, we're going to start with the first question. All right?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for having me, by the way. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to everyone and have a chance and for folks to get to know me.
Perfect, perfect. That's why we're here. All right. So the first question is going to be, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, the position you are running for, and why you think you are the best candidate for the job?
So a little bit about myself. My name is Amoy Barnes. I am a Staten Islander, but I was originally born in Jamaica. And my mother and I immigrated from Jamaica to Staten Island when I was 4 years old. And we've been here ever since. Most of my family, not all, many of my family are still in Jamaica, but many of my family members have immigrated here to Staten Island. My grandmother and grandfather, aunts, uncles, cousins. So Staten Island is home. And one of the things I've learned throughout my life and throughout my career, I am a career public servant, first and foremost, a proud career public servant. I've had the opportunity to serve in the New York State Senate for New York State Senator Diane Savino. I've also had the pleasure of being the Staten Island Borough Director for Mayor Bill de Blasio. And in between, I've had the opportunity to be in the Peace Corps, where I worked as a youth development volunteer in Morocco. And I lived in Fez, Morocco for 2 years, and got to do youth development, community engagement, community development work. And in my time as a Peace Corps volunteer in Morocco, a lot of the big work that I did was really working with young people to make sure that young people sort of understood their role and responsibility in being active citizens in their society. A lot of times people feel like, oh, well, what can I do? What can I give? How can I participate? And I would always say to my young people, this is your home. You know, although I am here to serve and support and also to learn about your culture, this is your home. And so it's your responsibility to give back to your home. And in saying that and doing that, I really wanted to make sure, and I really realized that when I go back home to Staten Island, New York, I need to practice what I preach. And I came back home and I continued that work in public service. I worked for the Parks Department and did community development, where I organized around our local public parks and our public spaces to make sure that people had a say in how their public spaces look and reactivate those spaces to work for the best interests of the communities that are around them. As well as being active in the Democratic Party. So overall, my career and what led me to running for office is that I realized that there's so much more work to be done. And so when Councilwoman Rose seat, which is, she is term limited out, which means she cannot run anymore, is becoming available, I realized that all these amazing years of public service has really taught me a lot. And one of the things that it has taught me is that government does work, but it works when your representatives make it work. And your representative's role, your elected official, their role is that to be that liaison between government and the community. And all too often in my many years of government, I have seen that people do not know about the resources and services that government has to offer. There are so many resources, there are so many services. And I always say the great thing about government is that pretty much everything is free. You already paid for it with your tax-paying dollars. So why don't you use it? Well, it's because government doesn't do a good job of marketing those resources. So as an elected official, my biggest thing that I want to make sure that our community has is access to those amazing resources that our taxpaying dollars pay for. And those resources include anything and everything from making sure our public spaces are maintained, making sure we have housing for our young professionals and for our seniors, making sure we have viable transportation options. Here on Staten Island, we are like a transportation desert. And making sure we have a viable healthcare system that supports the needs of all Staten Islanders across the borough. So I'm really excited to go on this journey because I know that I've been granted the tools and the resources and the connections, but also I've been granted the I guess you can say the enthusiasm that's needed to really do this work.
All right, thank you for that. What would you do differently than your predecessor, and what was done and what was done that you would do you would continue if elected?
So the work that Councilwoman Rose has done has been exceptional. She is the first African American elected to government here on Staten Island. She is a trailblazer. And the great thing is that, you know, she has been able to lead the district and lead the community in an economic development and an economic growth that has never been done before. Now, unfortunately, COVID has sort of put a damper on those things. Unfortunately, COVID has really slowed down a lot of the growing economic progress that we've been seeing here on the North Shore. So that's the type of work that I want to continue, making sure that our small businesses are supported, making sure that we continue that economic prosperity, workforce development, that our young people are trained not just with college and education, as college is important. I work for the Department of Education currently, and in my role for the Department of Education, I actually support students with disabilities to help them transition from high school to college and career readiness. So I understand the importance of college, but I also have seen students who, you know, college might not be the right place for them right now. So what other opportunities are we providing them? How are we engaging them with great opportunities in civil service and government? How are we engaging them with great opportunities in vocational fields? People don't realize that for many of the IT fields that we need nowadays, coding and things like that, you don't actually really need college. You just need to learn how to do it. And these are job opportunities that our society needs. These are job opportunities that employers or need. And we need to start thinking about the jobs of the future. You know, COVID has changed everything. And we as a society and we as government need to be innovative and change as well. So once again, I want to continue the economic prosperity that Councilwoman Rose has been a part of, but also I want to be innovative and really think about the future and think about where our society is going, and that our young people are prepared and that our communities are prepared, whether it be prepared for development, prepared for all the different opportunities that can come from everything going on right now. I always look at the positive of things, and I also try to be as proactive as possible, because sometimes government is extremely reactive, and if we were more proactive, it would alleviate a lot of the issues we have in our society.
All right, thank you for that. What would you do to include or involve the Coptic community in policy-making decisions?
So that is a great question, because one of my biggest things is everybody should be participating in government. You know, when I was in the Peace Corps, when I was in Morocco, you know, I talked to these young people and they'd say to me, oh, well, you know, like, we don't have influence and we don't have this. And I'm like, but you can have influence, you can get involved. You have to, you know, you can go to your representatives and talk to them about what is it you need and what is it you want, and then hold them accountable for what is it they say they're going to do. And so when I think about getting the American Coptic Council involved, I think about, just like any organization, it's just about making sure that as an elected official, I'm transparent about the work being done in the community. Transparency and communication is the key to everything. All too often, what I have seen in government is these backdoor deals being made, and that nobody was included in the conversation. And then all of a sudden, an idea is presented to everyone, and people are like, well, this is not what we want. This is not what we need. My biggest thing is I plan to make sure that in my office, every single organization is met with on a regular basis. Um, and that I have a team of organizers and constituent services, because that's what you're talking about, the basic constituent services. That's what the American Coptic community is. They're constituents. And the basic role of your elected official is good constituent service and making sure that their constituents understand what's going on in their community, understand about the resources and services, but also have a say in what's going on in their community. So as I say all the time, a good elected official, the first and most important thing you have to have in your office is good constituent services. And that means making sure that you're reaching out to everybody in your community, no matter who they are. And it doesn't matter, and I say this all the time, it doesn't matter if they could vote or not. They're a constituent. They are a part of your community. They are a part of you represent them. So I've always been a big proponent of, I don't care if you're an immigrant, I don't care. I come from an immigrant family. I understand these things. Everybody deserves to be represented. Every voice deserves to be heard, because people can bring so many great ideas to the table. And I want to bring all that amazing ideas to the forefront and into my office.
All right, thank you for that. What do you see as the top three issues facing your district residents now? And if elected, what would you do to alleviate them?
So the top three issues currently, one is healthcare. Specifically that, and this is across Staten Island. We only have 2 hospitals on Staten Island, and the hospital in the North Shore, Richmond University Medical Center, is at full capacity. It is an old hospital. It is a outdated hospital, and it is an under-resourced hospital. And the fact of the matter is, it's truly at full capacity at servicing the community. The North Shore of Staten Island, the district that I'm looking to represent, District 49, had more COVID-19 deaths than the rest of the island combined. That is just a travesty. And that is due to, you could look at socioeconomic issues. One could look at housing issues. One can look at race issues. There's just a lot of things there that really, really COVID-19 has brought to light. Things that we already knew existed, but COVID-19 just shined the light on it. Another thing I say is housing. One of the biggest issues that we have is there is no affordable housing. We don't have that amazing housing stock that the rest of the city has. We haven't had this housing boom that the rest of the city has. We here on Staten Island, specifically in the North Shore, are lacking housing. And what I always say, not just housing for all different types of groups of people, young professionals such as myself. A lot of my friends right now, they're getting married, they're having kids, and they would love to stay on Staten Island and live here, but they can't afford to. So they're moving to Jersey. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them. I can't blame them, because, they're going to get more bang for their buck. But what does that say about our community when we can't even keep our young people in their own neighborhoods? We have to look at finding ways to provide affordable housing, and that is at all mixed income levels, to support those at the lower tier as well as those at the young professional tier, and so on and so forth. We want to make sure that everyone is served. And even our seniors. Here in San Diego, we have a huge senior housing issue. So how do we make sure seniors are also supported as well? And then another issue, which I toggle between these two. You say 3 issues, and I'm gonna kind of say 4 because because both of them are extremely important. Education and transportation. Like I said, I work for the Department of Education, and we all know what's going on right now. It is interesting to say the least. But education is imperative to the success of anybody. If a child cannot read, they cannot get a job. It's just a fact. And so when we look at our young people, we look at our schools, and we look at our education system, we want to make sure that we utilize the full capacity of our education system and the full capacity of our public school system, and provide our public school system with the resources that it needs. Specifically, I would love to see that all schools become community schools, because to a certain extent, schools should be serving everybody around them with all the resources and services that they need. So I know some community schools here on Staten Island have health clinics in them. Some community schools here on Staten Island have nursing programs for the students and have nursing programs for parents and for adults to be able to get their LPN licenses, just like their kids are getting their LPN licenses. Schools should be a place of opportunity for all and be a welcoming place for all. And we should be able to utilize them to the full extent of their capacity. And then transportation, I cannot say that it's enough. We live on an island and our roads are overcapacitated. We have seen the fact that at the end of the day, we actually cannot fit anything more on our island. Literally, if we expanded anymore, Department of Transportation, when I worked for the mayor and I sat down with Department of Transportation and I said, listen, what's going on here? What can we do? And they said, well, Amoy, we can't expand anymore because we'd all fall into the ocean. Okay, we'd all fall into the Hudson River. So we are at a precipice in our society, and I'm going to use this term often, where we need to be innovative about our transportation system and look at what alternative actions we could take in terms of transportation. I don't know about everybody else. I'm a young professional, and I'm actually a big biker. I like to try to stay as healthy as possible, and I think biking in our society, the way that it's provided opportunity, boroughs like Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, and even the Bronx. The Bronx, all 4 boroughs have access to a public bike share system. But we are the only borough that does not have a public bike share system. To me, it's once again, it's that idea of the forgotten borough. How did we become forgotten? And we have to look at those opportunities, because innovative forms of transportation is what's going to make us healthier. Right? I talked about healthcare, but how do we get healthier? Well, maybe if we had access to public bike share systems, we'd be able to get folks biking, get more cars off the road, talk about environmental justice, make our air healthier. I mean, these are the things that we have to be thinking about. So I'm sorry I said 4, but I just feel like you can't forget transportation because we live on Staten Island.
No, don't be sorry. No, it's good to know all the issues that are plaguing the borough. Thank you, Amoy, for that. What is your opinion of the reallocation of funds from the NYPD budget?
So my opinion of the reallocation of NYPD funds is very simple. The fact of the matter is that the NYPD themselves have said that they agree that funds should be reallocated to other city agencies to support the needs of the community. The NYPD and the officers of the NYPD are not mental health counselors. They're not homeless organizers. And they have been overcapacitated with many different forms of work. That is not what they're supposed to be doing. And so, as the NYPD themselves have stated, the reallocation of funding is important because that funding should go towards the services and resources that are needed. Our mental health counselors, our outreach counselors for our homeless services. In New York City, homelessness has grown from something like 40,000 people 4 years ago to uh, astronomical now. And it's still growing. And we have a huge homeless issue. And we have to make sure that the HRA is serviced accordingly, that our mental health services are serviced accordingly, that our health and hospital systems is serviced accordingly. And here on Staten Island, we don't have a health and hospital system really, because we don't have a health and hospital. We do have a clinic, and that's to the thanks of Councilwoman Rose that was built recently. But we need more of those. We need more access to public healthcare resources. So I agree, as the NYPD says, with the reallocation of funds from the NYPD to be put into services and resources that are needed for our community.
Thank you for that. What would you do to stop or reduce the apparent increase of violent crimes?
So the increase in violent crime, I say this all the time. If you look at the increase in violent crime and everything that's going on, it's about access to opportunities. It's about access to resources. Unfortunately, right now, COVID-19 has debilitated our economy. And with our debilitated economy, there isn't much opportunity out there. And unfortunately, what it does is it leaves our young people to have a lot of idle time and idle opportunity. And my biggest thing that it comes down to is that if you give people access to opportunities, if you give a person a choice, whether to, you know, hang out and do nothing, or get a good paying job with good benefits with a union. I'm a big supporter of the unions, and there's some amazing unions, our carpenters unions, our electricians, or you know, all our different unions. If you give them access to those opportunities, most likely they'll take those opportunities. So what I see when it comes to a reduction of violent crime, I'm grateful for our amazing Cure Violence programs, but that and our what we call conflict resolution folks who come out. But we want to be proactive, because when violent crime happens, we're being reactive. Everything is reactive. You have a person that now is in the criminal justice system. They're a part of everything becomes reactive. And I always say government has to be more proactive, and you have to make sure that you provide folks with access to opportunities and access to resources. You could either, you know, if you hand a young person a job, you know, they'll most likely, you know, put down that gun.
Thank you for that, Amoy. The next question would be, what is your opinion on the current, what is your current opinion on the bail reform laws?
So on the bail reform laws, we have to really remember that the bail reform laws are trying to do the work of many generations of pretty much unregulated community, how do I say, unregulated community, not community policing, I would say, but years and years of work that threw many Black and brown young people in jail for minor crimes. And the fact of the matter is that our criminal justice system does not treat everybody equitably. And that's a fact. And we have to find a way to create some equity in our criminal justice system. And that is what our bail reform laws are about. It's about trying to find a way to create some form of equity in our society. Now, there are certain things that have been done very speedily, very hastily. And there are always, with any type of changes in the law, it doesn't matter what it is, there's always going to be going back to that law and making revisions. And that's normal, because when you're introducing something that's brand new, Nothing is going to be perfect. I'll say that. Nothing is going to be perfect. And there are some revisions that need to be changed. And I know that that's what was done in the past, Albany in the past legislator. But at the end of the day, the purpose of the bail reform laws lies in the foundation of creating true equity in our criminal justice system, so that people of black and brown people are no longer over criminalized in our system.
Thank you for that, Amoy. Is there anything else you would like to tell our viewers today?
So I just want to first and foremost say thank you so much for having me and for giving me the time to speak to everyone. I think that it's important to know that everybody, I say this all the time, everybody should be participating in our government. And I say this, everybody should be doing their census. Everybody should be voting, and not just voting during presidential years, but voting during off election years. And understand that after you vote, there's nothing wrong with holding your elected official accountable. You know, one of the things that I've always said as a career public servant, and I'm proud to say it, is that I work for you. I've been working for you in the state Senate. I've been working for you when I went to the Peace Corps. I've been working for you when I was in the Parks Department, when I was at the mayor's office, and here at the Department of Education. And I'm proud to work and serve my community. It is a privilege, I always say, to be of service to one's community. And I am grateful for the opportunity to continue being of service to my community, to all communities, in the capacity, hopefully, as the next city councilwoman of the 49th district here on Staten Island. And I promise that when given that opportunity, I promise that I will always be accessible, I will always be transparent, and most importantly, I will always listen, because I always say nobody gets to where they are by themselves. And at the end of the day, when you get there, you cannot be there by yourself. So I'm going to need the American Coptic Council and the community to help me govern, to help me lead. But first, I'm going to need you to help me get elected into office. So I would appreciate all your support, and I look forward to getting to know more and to just meeting everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amoy. It's our pleasure as well. Once again, Ms. Amoy Barnes is running for the 49th District on Staten Island for City Council here in New York City. Once again, thank you for your time, and I wish you all have a wonderful day.